everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. My name's Charles McGilvray, and as always, I'm joined by Jess Kebble and Simon Stacey with Fans Podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints. How you both doing?
Good, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Good. Yeah, it's interesting. No real sort of skin in the game at the moment in the Premiership, but the last couple of games were pretty good, weren't they?
Yeah.
Two pretty good
Yeah,
teams.
they were. They were
two
good
teams
games. Yeah.
I didn't really want in the final, but hey, that's rugby for you.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think I said on the last one. I don't want to say it, but I think I want them up the road. Possibly, I think their story is just better.
It's them though, mate. I'd rather anybody win but them. I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just think they seem mean. Yeah, watching Bath win it after years and years of throwing money up against the wall, and finally to see that solution worked. I don't know. Anyway, this episode we're going to talk about the season just gone. We might have a look ahead to the final, but let's still keep focus on the Saints. Big moments, sort of ups and downs. I mean, this season probably more than most recent seasons had probably the biggest highs and the biggest lows of many, hasn't it? Really.
Yeah.
It's insane, isn't it? You think the way that they played towards the end of the season, they got to a Champions Cup final, pushed one of the best sides currently in Europe to quite a close scoreline, and then we're 8th in the league. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Really? Like it's not a false position because we were awful at the start of the season, but if you look at that team and the way we play rugby, 8th doesn't really sit right with me. But it is what it is.
It's also worth pointing out though, like 8th sounds really bad, but you had 2 wins and you're like top 4, so you're not quite top 4, but you're like, if I think we can probably all agree, we don't have to debate it, but the worst low of the whole season was a certain thumping, kneeling by them up the road, wasn't it?
Yeah. We don't mention that. We call that Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. It's not happening, mate. Yeah,
that was the worst by far. But now since we've got that out of the way, should we just look at the good memories for the year?
Yeah.
Go on, highlights of the season. What are we saying?
Well, you got to start with a young Mr. HP, haven't you? Well, it's not Harry Potter. Mr. Pollock, because he's literally come from nowhere in 6-7 months. We knew because we've watched him from a kid that he was going to be special, but for the height he's gone and now he's a lion. It's insane. So like he wasn't even sniffing in England. He's played one time for England and boom, he's now going to Australia and he totally deserves it. Totally deserves it. That's just one of the highlights.
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight, the emergence of the chosen one. What about you, Jess? What do you think?
It's got to be the Leinster performance probably, and that's probably like outside of winning the Prem that game winning the Prem. That's probably the biggest high for a long time, like for a number of years. Like just that performance, being able to put that performance in. Obviously, a shame we couldn't back it up, a couple of weeks later. But it felt kind of reminiscent of, the World Cup where England put in that insane performance against New Zealand in the semi-final, like probably one of the best World Cup performances, and couldn't quite get it over the line in the final. It's kind of reminiscent of that, right? Like that kind of level of like performance that we put in over Leinster, to win that. And winning the trophy would have been good, but we'll still always have that performance. Like that performance doesn't go anywhere, and it's kind of just shows you what we are capable of as a team when we can put it all together. Because the Prem, though, it's like you said, Charles, like about it being only a 2-game difference. Like it's so competitive that you just can't afford to have a slow start, and we did, and we just couldn't really recover from there. And then because we didn't recover, we obviously put all of our eggs in the European basket. Understandably, I'd have done exactly the same thing, and so we just never quite, those games against Exeter and Gloucester where, we put out B teams because we were still in Europe. Or actually, because the second one was because the season was over at that point, so you were always going to put out kind of a second string team. But you think if we weren't in Europe, we weren't doing as well in Europe, we'd probably go full strength against both of those sides and could potentially have beaten both of those sides. And then, like I said, it's a completely different story as to where you are in the season. So it's fine margins. That you think that sounds weird to say being eighth, but it really was fine margins, and we just weren't on the right side of that for the first sort of half of the Prem. And so we focused on Europe. And the reality is if we hadn't have done as well in Europe and we'd focused back on the Prem, we probably would still be in contention at this point, very possibly. At least potentially in the top four. I'm not saying necessarily through to the final, but yeah, we made the right. I think the team, the management, they all made the right call to focus on Europe. I know some people say, well, you didn't win it. I said no, but we were never going to win the Prem once we were stuck down there, realistically.
Yeah.
So
it was when I say we're 2 games short, it was those 2 games. If we'd beaten Gloucester, and then we'd beaten them up the road at home, those games we'd have been like top 4 going into the last run of games, and then it's a whole different mindset, isn't it?
I do love
and then if you had that
the fact that you use my term from now, you don't even call them that name.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good phrase. It's a good phrase. I will say Tigers. I'm not like you, but I just think it's a good phrase. I mean, the other one I've heard a lot is the rabble up the road.
Yeah,
that's a normal phrase. Yeah.
But I mean, even if you add the Exeter game to them too, right? That's a game that if we'd sent a full strength team, I think all of us are probably quite confident we'd have won, just based on Exeter season and the way it's kind of going for them.
Yeah.
So you think those 3 games essentially would have probably completely changed the complexion of the season for us in terms of the Prem. But what it does still show, realistically, is that English teams can compete in Europe if they're only competing in Europe, is the reality. Like, I'm not really sure there's many teams, except maybe Bath, because they were able to do it in the Challenge Cup. But to perform on both fronts at like top level, I don't think the English clubs are quite. I don't think it's as big as a gap as it may perhaps has been in the past, but there's still a bit of a gap there.
I would argue that we competed on both fronts last year, and I'd also say, I mean, last year's squad was probably better, etc. But I would also say, if maybe, and this isn't to be critical, right? Because they are the best in the league and the best around, in my idea. But I think if the squad management had been done slightly differently, and we'd won that Gloucester game and that Leicester match, and we were in the hunt, we could have competed on both fronts. What would have maybe let us down is injuries, because we were clinging on at the end, right? But I think you can't account, and it's not, you can't, like, but Dowson and Vesty, what they're supposed to do, you can't account for Finn Smith getting like player in team of the year, the Six Nations on a Tuesday, and then on the Saturday afternoon can't even get into the game, and was all, really was not at the standards that he sets himself against Tigers. Like, I think they'll have learned from that, and they'll manage those transitions out of the international squads going forward. If you sort of ease them back in like Quinn's did, you probably have a better reaction in terms of results, maybe.
Who has a derby after the Six Nations, though? Do you know what I mean? When you got a rest,
everyone.
That's what I'm saying. They do that.
Yeah.
Stupidly. The thing was, as we mentioned when we had Alex Coles on, we asked him about what is it like, and he said it's so different. So we know that they've been drilled for 7 weeks the England way. I know they know the Saints way, but you've just got to get back in it, and 4 days is not going to give you enough time back with the boys. You should expect them to, but it's whoever does the fixtures is just a bit silly, I think, because why would you do a derby weekend after that?
No, it's an odd time.
Rested. Silly.
Yeah. I'm guessing they're trying to capture that interest, aren't they? Like, that's that. I don't think it's right, but I think that's their concept of like, everyone's engaged with rugby. We're watching the Six Nations. It's amazing. Oh wait, that was a great tournament. What's going on in club rugby? Oh, it's Derby week. Oh, that's what they're trying to capture, is that interest, because obviously you go from like 14 million people watching England v Wales one week, and then like about 10 man and a dog watching the derbies the week after. They're just trying to capture and that's not true, because attendant viewing figures are on the up in the Prem, but Quinn's did it really interesting. They actually just like kept that squad through the PRC rolling into that derby week, and I think they turned over Sarries, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, like Sarries went full go and they got turned over by Quinn's. I think that young Jamie Benson, who I think we tried to sign, he had a bit of a stormer, didn't he? So I think that might be the way, maybe if after the Six Nations next season, you don't see Finn coming straight back in. You see Anthony Bellew starting, and you bring them in over a few week period.
Yeah, it'd be different though when
I think
we have got a quality backup now. I'm not saying Savannah wasn't quality, and GMC was injured, so we didn't have the depth, and that's what's cost us this year. A lot of positions we've lost a couple of players in each position. Like the backs has been insane. So like you lose Finn, we all knew this. That's why in every game we were playing before the semi-final and the final, like wrap him up in cotton wool, because if we don't have him, we're screwed. And we would have been. So yeah, now we've got another quality international class 10 as a backup or pushing to start. I think that'll push Finn on even more now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the
because
difficulty we also had as well is like, you know, maybe they did want to roll the same team out through the PRC and into Derby weekend, but we're also sort of forgetting that for us the PRC wasn't a very good, like the teams didn't perform, and so they're kind of stuck in a situation of, I should imagine that was a tough call to make of what to do there, because you've got a PRC team that kind of crashed out of the competition, and we weren't exactly at the kind of, I don't think we reached our potential in that tournament. But
that was the strange thing, wasn't it?
tough.
Because they did perform in the tournament, getting into the semi-final, and then just completely fell apart in that semi-final and put in a shocker.
And so I can see why I can.
Away from the lows again, back to the highs. Another away win this year that we've actually never done previously was got to probably be one of the highs of the season, and that was away in Pretoria.
That was going to be one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that the two of we'd obviously won in Leinster previously, but to win in a semi-final was just like insane. One of the best wins of all time. And then obviously away in Pretoria is probably one of the biggest wins, and obviously I went to neither of them. So obviously it's it's good that I didn't go, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, another one for me. It's got to be. There's not many teams that done it this year. It was Bath. I know it was at home, but we beat Bath. I don't know. I think Bristol did. We did. Did they only lose 3 games, or was it 4 in the end because they put a weak team out?
They lost 4 in the end.
Yeah. But three games up until the last weekend or the weekend before was insane, and we were only one of the ones to beat them. So
yeah, that's the thing though. Like you said, Jess, 8th isn't a fair reflection of reality of the side. It's a fair reflection of results, but it's not a fair reality of we were inches probably away really from being crowned champions of Europe or the Champions Cup. We were really close. We were one of the best teams in, I'm going to say, the world at the moment, right? Because we must be, and yet we've to finish 8th isn't a fair reality. I think the idea that.
Should we just say joint 5th? Because all the clubs, there's a couple of points between 5th and 8th. We'll just say joint 5th.
That's what I mean, though, isn't it? Like the reason it's not really much of a reflection is because of the gap, even between 2nd and 8th. The gap is not like Bath were, kind of spectacularly ahead at the end, but like the difference between even 2nd and 8th wasn't that much. Like it's just such a competitive.
It's 3 wins.
Such a competitive league. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like to have only 3 wins of a difference between 2nd and 8th is mental. Like it does kind of show you like how competitive the league has been this year. That you get it even slightly wrong for a few weeks and you're already going to struggle. And that's just the reality of what we had. And we have it. We have this in gains as well of like slow starting. And so hopefully they can kind of hit the ground running. It'd be very nice if we can finally have a home game. Because we're still on 3 in a row where we started the season away, was it not?
And ended.
Sale. We were away to Sale 2 years in a row, weren't we, for the first one, and then it was away to Bath. So I'm just like, it'd be nice if we could finally get a home one, because I feel like it's difficult to beat anyone away, but it's definitely difficult to beat Sale, and it's definitely difficult to beat Bath. So it just would be nice to have a home game and just start on a good trajectory.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say, there's no guarantee. You come out pre-season and no one really knows where they're at, and until you get into the season, you don't know where you are. So a tough away trip to Sale, you almost just treat it as an extension of pre-season. You're probably going to lose that game anyway. We could be on like absolute form of our lives. We could have won 10 games in a row, go to Sale away and quite easily lose, because it's such a difficult away game. So to just have that as an extension of pre-season, I don't think it's the end of the world. But it would be nice to have a home game just for the excitement levels.
I always think
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
champions should always have their first game of the season at home as well. I always think just to parade the trophy and just show the fans to have an away game in Manchester just seems a bit insane.
Well, it wasn't even that. For this season, the annoyance was that not only was it an away game, it was an away game against Bath, and I was like, but we just beat them. Does that not afford us sort of the opportunity to play them at home?
Yeah.
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 But yeah, it's just one of those where
finished the season away as well again, didn't we?
Away, yeah.
It's 2 years in a row. That's silly.
Yeah. Even just to have one of them. I'm not even asking for both. Just one of them to go our way, like this year.
Another highlight of the season for me, and I liked him from day one you should as well, being a fellow Aussie, is Mr. Kemeny. In the end, he's just gone on and just turned into one of the best players we've got. He's changed his game, but he was insane.
The last sort of maybe last quarter of the season, he was just unreal. Like he became. He looks a little bit like him, but he became full on action man, didn't he? He was just all over the pace, involved in absolutely everything. Obviously, phenomenal line out operator. He's one of the best around at the line out. There's no doubt about that. And we didn't really lose out by losing Laws in that instance. Bringing Kemeny, as a proven line out operator. Laws is one of the best ever. Don't get me wrong, but Kemeny came in and sort of gave us that third option quite quickly, didn't he? So, yeah. I mean, it'd be really good to see how he gets on with a proper pre-season under his belt next season,
Could he get I don't know what the Aussie rules are. Could he get a secret call-up for the Aussies?
No,
they play overseas? I don't think they are they?
Well, they sort of make it up as they go along, don't they? Because I think Gitto's law is obviously still a thing, but it generally doesn't exist outside of the World Cup years. Unless you name Samu Karevi. Him and Will Skelton tend to get called up anyway because, I mean, human beings aren't quite built like them. So, but I can't imagine. The Aussie teams are going pretty well in Super Rugby, so I can't imagine Kemeny will get a look in because, as good as he is, that some of the performers like Hooper, for example, are performing so well. You're not going to pick the guy overseas when someone's playing really well at home. So.
The shock I saw, was it last week or this week? Was Augustus who called up for the South Africans. All the time he's been at Saints, and he gets one when he's leaving. He should have been in that squad years ago. He's insane.
I mean, we can count him as a Saint, I suppose, a representation for this summer, but there's going to be a hell of a lot of summer representation from Saints squad. I mean, we've got 8 in the training squad currently for England.
I was going to come up to
Elliot Miller-Mills with Scotland, Mapu with Samoa, Augustus, obviously the 4 Lions.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be a bit of a rough start to next season if all these players come back and they need resting.
Yeah, I don't think the Lions maybe. I don't think the touring sides will be so bad, will they? They're not playing.
Yeah, what is it? Is it 3 matches, right?
Yeah, it's 2.
It's a 3-game series.
2 against the US, isn't it? 1 against Argentina.
Yeah, and 1 against Argentina. Yeah, So that shouldn't be too bad, hopefully. And it obviously depends how many of those. That's a training squad, right? So it's not definitive that every one of those 8 is. No, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's fairly close to that number, to be honest, based on who they've called up. Like, I think maybe a couple. Potentially not.
It'll be dependent on who comes out, Tigers and Bath.
Exactly.
Them sort of thing,
and what happens to them? Yeah.
I think a few of them will go though. I mean, it's normally a case of you get like the players who haven't been called up to internationals, etc. Get they'll be starting pre-season in a couple of weeks, and then like 4 weeks before the season, they sort of bring back the internationals slowly. And it's sort of people have probably been at it for about like 12 weeks or something. The other highs through the season, I mean, player wise, what do we think?
I mean, we've got to talk about Tommy and just that crazy try scoring run that he was on at one point, like with for Saints and England. I mean, he got England Player of the Year, didn't he, at the Rugby Awards? I'd have been stunned if it was anyone else. I know people be like, "You're Saints, blah blah blah." I said, I genuinely, I think, would have been stunned if they'd picked anybody else
First
outside of Tommy.
5 and 5, yeah.
Yeah, 5-5, and then he must have scored. I reckon he kept going up until
6 or 7, I think it's got to have been.
yeah, he must have gone up until. I can't think if he got one in the semi-final or not because I can't remember.
No, he didn't.
But
He
I don't
didn't.
think
He did. No, he had a good run, but it finished
yeah,
just before then, I think.
yeah, it's got to be sort of you've got to be maybe 8-ish or something, which is still a crazy kind of conversion rate in terms of scoring in every single one. So yeah, that's got to be. And then obviously he got supporters player of the year, didn't he, at the Saints Awards as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it's just been such a
Kennedy got
highlight
the
to watch him.
players player and the coaches
And the
player, didn't he?
coaches player, yeah. And then obviously coming back to Pollock, obviously, I remember watching the commentary for one of the games I was watching in one of the last few weeks, and Nick Mullins was commentating. He said he was on the panel to decide like the awards. He said we've got to decide like young breakthrough player of the season. Even him, he was like, there's only really one option. Like he was like it's only going to be that kid from Northampton realistically. So yeah, that's 2 out of 2, wasn't it? They were nominated for Saints Players nominated for 2 awards at those and picked up both of them. So
Yeah. I think the other player that might be probably worth noting is obviously Furbank had a really unlucky, like unbelievable luck, man. That kid cannot get a break. But in his absence, from a leadership point of view, I mean, Dingwall seemed to come into his own, didn't he?
Yep.
Dingwall's leadership, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Dingwall just gets named club captain because he just seems to exude the leadership, doesn't he? He just seems to be the clear leader. He's just sort of like Michael Vaughan sort of character from the '05 Ashes, if that rings a bell to be like, maybe he's not the KP or the Flintoff, the Hoggar, the all action star, sort of in your face not style over substance because they're both amazing, but huge stylistic players. But he was amazing at what he does, and he just knitted it all together. And I saw this week Dylan was talking about Fraser and said as a young man, he said he just exuded sort of class and confidence and there he was always going to be, and he's a good bloke, and he was always going to be a great player. And he used the term glue. If you're like Gorilla Tape or PVA or something, you're definitely given a sponsorship deal to
the best sponsorship.
You can't get a sentence.
It'll be Pritstick.
Because
that would just be funny. Because that would be funny.
You can't get.
I'm pretty sure
that's saying the word glue.
Without saying the word glue, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wonder if it might come sooner rather than later, because you've got to think with everything that Ferbs has got to kind of work back through. The head injury, it's still potentially things going on with the arm because we simply don't know. I'm not even sure they necessarily know because it wasn't tested, was it? Like it wasn't tested against Bordeaux in the final, so that's probably still a bit more of an unknown than they probably want it to be. So I wonder if they just remove the pressure from him and just sort of say, you've got to kind of focus on recovery, fitness, just getting back into the game, because that's going to be a massive like layover in the end, isn't it? It was 4 months before he came back for that one appearance. Then he did 70 minutes, didn't he? And then a big layoff again, and then he did 5 minutes. So you've got to think that essentially from January through to September when the season starts, he'd have literally barely even played a full match's worth of time. I don't know. It also depends what happens with England as well, because you'd like to think that Dingwall's up there as choice to captain that side. Potentially. I'm sure there are a few people in the running, but you've got to think that he certainly is a possibility. And so potentially what happens there, like does that mean that he's more of a shoe-in to be Saints captain, less of a shoe-in? I don't really know, because I don't know the thought behind it, but he did a masterful job.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to disregard Burbank either, because Burbank, I maintain on the pitch, is one of our best players, like without a shadow of a doubt, and he clearly drives the energy. That's why he was given the captaincy. It's just the lads had the worst luck you can possibly imagine.
Yeah,
we just need him fit and firing, and it will make all the difference in that side because he's such a class player. I think there's also a number of players who 12 months ago wouldn't have even been in a conversation about being in selection, etc., but have been outstanding. And I think this last season is probably, Tom Litchfield being a good example. Tom Lockett, another example. Both the young scrum halves. Someone like Craig White stepped up massively. Lots of players have stepped up hugely, and
Rami,
they're going and they
Rami,
Ram, Hendy. These players have stepped up,
Yeah.
and they're now contending for the to be starting every week. It's only going to drive standards. It's almost like this season has just been a way of giving those boys games to get to the level. And now you look at that squad when everyone's fit, and you're like, I don't know who you pick. Like, because there's such quality now. Like picking a back three out of the people available, virtually impossible. You've got to pick two wingers out. Good luck, because it's so much talent available.
Yeah.
And even if even the bench scrum half, you can say Mitchell's head and shoulders above in terms of starting 9, but Tom James outrageously good. But Archie McParland had a phenomenal spell early in the season and played really well, and then towards the end, phenomenal performances from Johnny Wyman. Like, who's going to get that bench spot at 9 is a real contest, and that competition can only drive standards. I think that with the signings that they've made, I suspect there's one more coming in. There'll probably be a few more, but at least one more, I reckon, in a certain position. But they're only going to there's going to be a good squad next year, is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Now we've got the new scrum coach announced. Is it really?
Jaco Pienaar.
Pienaar, sorry. You never know. He might bring some big South African beef with him. You never know. In the front row. You don't know.
I don't think we'll be signing anyone in the front row. I don't reckon. They've got a lot of people on the books.
Second row, maybe.
Yeah, I think there'll be big four coming in. He might be South African. We might have played against him last year.
Yeah, allegedly.
But he's very much in the mould of a certain Big Ed Prowse. So don't look too far past what we've already got.
You and your 8 Big Ed.
Yeah.
He's just recovering, isn't he? That's him. Just had an
Just had the surgery. Just had surgery. Yeah. Which we've said about so many people. Yeah, they've just had surgery. It's been
honestly, I think considering we got to a Champions Cup final, the amount of injuries and serious injuries we've had on a tight with most probably 50-60% of our team being academy, you got to think we've massively overachieved. When I'm not dissing Bath, when you look at Bath, who just have bought quality in, we bought our own through, and we've managed to get to like you said, we were, what was it, 5-6 points away from 4th? That's it.
No. We would have been if we'd won those 2 games. We finished. That's
what I'm saying.
We finished 12 points off. 12 points.
Nearly win the big European Cup as well. It's You can't say you can't be proud of the boys, because there was so many. Like every game, I sit just behind the team. There was 4 or 5 lads sat there with ankles wrapped, ice packs on their shoulders, arms, ribs.
You just think of the players that, from that final who were missing. That we didn't have a fit 8 essentially. Augustus wasn't fit, Graham wasn't fit. Pearson wasn't there, wasn't back yet. You think of we haven't had Robbie Smith all season.
Nope.
Thinking about backs, we didn't have any left.
No.
No, it wasn't even. That's the thing, isn't it? All the teams have their injury things, but most of the time it's kind of small little things. You're out for a couple of weeks, but you think about, it's just like everyone's legs broke, everyone's arms broke this year. It was crazy, like you said, even chucking Ferbs in there, chucking Hendy in there. But and Ollie had to have surgery, didn't he, before coming back? The luck has been cursed this year. So to think about how well we performed and how well we performed overall, and some of those performances that we got out of the team were actually pretty astonishing when you consider what had happened throughout the year. So you think if we can get everyone back fit for next season and maybe have a little bit of better luck, I think the sky's the limit really as we go into next season.
Yeah, you think about it though, it's not just the fact that we managed to get a good team out for that game, but half the players didn't train all week. Alex Coles came on and said he didn't train. Imagine if we had the whole squad pushing each other for a few weeks leading into that. Because the team that we managed to get, you got to think, who are they running against?
Yeah.
fair play to all the lads that stepped up and raised the standard and pushed them. But if you've got Rambo against Furbank, for example, pushing each other for that 15 spot, that's only going to drive you forward. Hendy wasn't around pushing Ollie, who's only just coming back from injury himself. Like,
Yeah.
Tommy had to play on the wing because we had no other wingers. But imagine if he was pushing, Hutch or etc. for that 13 slot.
Yeah.
Like no, so you managed to get your team out, but you need everyone fit just to drive the standard through the week. It's
Yeah.
amazing the performance they put in based on the injuries that they had.
I mean, Colsey's performance in that final's got to be another high. I know he downplayed, he tried to downplay it, bless him, because obviously they've just lost, so you're in that kind of mindset, so he kind of downplayed it. To put that performance in on an injury that you said probably required a minimum of 2 weeks and he couldn't train was insanity. To be able to do what he did for 80 minutes, coming in and basically admitting to something like my knee was really, really sore that day, is pretty crazy. Like, you think of how he would have played if he was like fully fit. I'm like, it doesn't even bear thinking about, because it probably would have just been monstrous. Like, so I'm really hoping that he's one of the, obviously you want all of the 8 that get called up to stay, but yeah, certainly would like Alex Cole to be able to get a proper run for England, to get some proper good performances under his boot. I would be surprised if he's not one of the ones that stays in that
I
team.
would be surprised if he's not the starting 5 on that tour.
Yeah.
Calling the line out, I reckon. But yeah.
The fact he can cover 6 as well is also in his back pocket, isn't it? So he's versatile.
Yeah. There's a couple of extra sort of cards in there, isn't there, that help him out. But yeah, that performance he put in, and then to come on the pod and be like, oh yeah, no, my knee definitely wasn't right. It was like at least a week off. I'm like, what do you mean? How is that possible?
All right, just to finish off, then, shall we have a quick chat around the final this weekend? We've sort of all indicated who we sort of want to win. No, I just want Michael Checker to win. I mean, I thought it was hilarious, the interview when he's like after the semi-final, when he's like, "Oh yeah, obviously I wanted to win, but now that we've won, I've got to fly my whole family over. So winning's cost me 20 grand." I just think it would be good for him to disappear off into the sunset, and he's a tremendous coach.
He is, but he's the coach of them, so I can't agree with you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I said before, it's just they've got a team of players who have been there and have been at Leicester and come through their academy and top player, in Youngs and Cole leaving, etc. It's a very different story to the one at Bath, and I can get behind that story, I think, a bit better, albeit it's them. Yeah.
I must say though, I'm a fan of Van Graan, like, as a coach and as a person, but I feel like there's differing reasons why I wouldn't really want either of them to win. So I'm just going to go into it of like, I just hope it's good. I don't want to be bored for 80 minutes, because those semi-finals were both really good quality. Like, even though the score lines were like actually fairly far apart at the end, like they were real proper contests for large portions of time, and they were really, really good to watch, and like big physical collisions that are gonna potentially have impacts for both of those next week, isn't it? Probably, I should imagine there's a couple question marks for each team about fitness of people and things. I'm hoping it's shaping up to be a good final, at least, and it'll be nice to watch it without any stress, because last year was hell.
Yeah. Well, and I think that puts you on the fence, basically. Then, so from the podcast,
yeah,
I'm sort of leaning towards
yeah.
leaning towards the enemy. Sai is 100% not on board with the enemy, and you're pretty much on the fence. So we've covered all angles.
I think if someone, I'm sort of on the fence, but not even on the fence. I'm literally just like, because on the fence would suggest that I can't make a decision either way. It's not that I can't. It's that I just don't see the need to. I just hope it's a kind of a good one. If someone said like, you've got to put like a 5 on who you think would win, I would probably say Bath, but anything can happen on finals day, as we saw last year. Like, on our finals day was probably our worst performance of the season, and we lifted the trophy. So anything can happen.
I would literally say I can't support them. So I'm not happy. I'm not really happy about the way they've done it, because like the way it should be done is like us, Sale, people that bring players through, but it is what it is. They're not breaking any rules allegedly. So, but
like Leicester,
it doesn't matter. You are
like Leicester, you mean?
Like Leicester did, yeah.
Like Leicester developing their own talent.
Well, yeah. But I can't say them, so I've got to say Bath. Unfortunately. I don't want either to win. I would have preferred a Bristol Sale final and want Sale to win, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I wanted, to be honest. To be honest with you, just in heart of hearts. But I mean, the only thing I would say with people are writing about Bath off as the clear favourites. I really don't see it that way. I
Oh, I
still
don't. I don't
question.
think they're clear favourites either. I just
I
think
still
I,
question
I
Bath. How often have they been pushed? How much muscle memory have they
yeah.
got of being in a really tight game and winning?
You saw that
Uh,
in the first half against Bristol.
yeah,
Bristol were all over it. It's only Bath woke up second half that they come out, and then you look at
Yeah,
that score and you
yeah.
think that does not reflect that game. The Bristol was so much better first half. They
and
just
you
didn't
can
get the
do that
points.
against Bristol. You can wake up in the second half against
Yeah,
Bristol.
Yeah, it's Bristol's
If you
biggest
have a
flaw,
slow
as we've talked about before. Yeah.
yeah, if you have a slow start against Leicester and let them get a few points on the board, try have fun trying to get possession with Pollard
Yeah.
pinning the corners.
I mean, I'm not even. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even. I don't even think that Bath are clear favourites. So that's why I literally said like if someone asked me to put a fiver on it, any more than that, and I'd be like, I have no idea. But like, I'd probably just say Bath just because they've won 2 trophies this year and they've got that narrative of doing the triple, which I still think is ridiculous because I don't think that counts. But they've got the kind of narrative of winning, 3 trophies in one season, which is still a great achievement. So they've kind of got that narrative, but then like Leicester have peaked at the right time. Like it really could genuinely go any way. I think it will be a close, like hard fought contest, which is what you want
they've
out of a final at the end of the day.
them up the road have kind of done what Wasps used to do. They used to be like lingering at the bottom of the table, and then they just literally peak
Yeah.
8 weeks to go.
Peak at the perfect time, yeah.
It's just that there, but you got to
He's
think as well. The pressure's all on Bath because they lost it last year, so
yeah,
they've got to go right. We got to go one
Yeah,
step.
yeah.
Everyone's telling
Yeah.
us we're going to win.
They will have the
this.
pressure on them,
So they
yeah.
will. Yeah. So to be fair, them up
Particularly
the road have got
getting
nothing to
their
lose really. I don't.
yeah,
yeah.
and you say Van Graan. Van Graan's clearly a good, experienced coach, etc. Right? But there's good coaches, and there's coaches that have won everywhere they've ever been. There must be something special with Michael Checker because the man wins. Like I
I
know,
will say though
I
that
know I'm
like
taking
The
it, but he's
Aussie love
never.
it. The Aussie
But
love it.
but the stats don't lie. He's won everywhere he's been, hasn't
To be
he? He's
fair,
won.
has he coached a poor team?
I mean, winning Super Rugby with the Waratahs is a pretty good achievement.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, okay. Then he took over. He took over right.
Leinster.
Let's be
no, it's
honest though. Let's be realistic because Leinster, when he took over, weren't the Leinster that we know now. They were they were massive underachievers for a long period of time. Munster were the biggest Irish team. He
When
went
was
in
he?
there.
Was he there when they won the Heineken Cup?
Yeah, he won the
Yeah, was
Champions
he a
Cup with
Rocky
them.
Elson with him?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and he
yeah.
beat them up the road in Edinburgh.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I think
that was a
he
good game.
he is the foundation stone for this bloody Leinster team that we've got now because
Yeah.
they were perennial underachievers. Munster were by far the most successful Irish team, and then he came in there, changed things, and really set the stone for then Cullen and
yeah.
Lancaster to come in and take really.
Particularly as if you've got to again put your money on it, it's Leinster Bulls right in the URC final at Croke Park. Probably only one winner there if you're being realistic. I mean,
Yeah.
anything can happen on a day.
Will
but
anyone turn
you've
up
got-
though? That's the question.
Yeah, there's some massive questions. I do know there's some massive question marks over a lot of Leinster player fitness. People who are out or are like on the fence of whether they're going to,
No,
which
it's the
might have a
It was the
impact maybe.
fans.
But
They had for the I think it was Croke Park. They had the semi final, or was it Aviva? They had the semi final. 15,000 people was it? That's all turned up.
yeah, at Croke Park they're only expecting 40 to be there on the day in an 82,000.
Yeah.
But the Aviva I think they said was unavailable, so they probably just about fill the Aviva, but they won't in Croke Park. But yeah, no, it would definitely be an interesting final. I think. I mean, we talk about Checker, we always got to talk about Pollard, right? He's really good around the field, but like if that had been if that had been kind of a bit closer at the end, his genuinely awful on the day goal kicking might make a difference. Like he's got to be all right. I think he missed 9 points.
He's won World Cups though with his kicking.
No, I know.
He scored
That's
scored
the funny thing,
36
isn't it?
points in World Cup finals alone, hasn't he?
Yeah, but I was just like, and it was like some stuff came up really well for him. Like that kick to Radwan, he totally miskicked it. And but the collection of the ball by Radwan was insanity.
Wow,
But
that was a great
his
try.
I don't know what was going on with his goal kicking, but it was absolutely atrocious. Ones that he should have easily been able to get like in his sleep. So he's going to need to, those points in the end, it didn't matter, but can't help but feel that game's going to be really close at the weekend and he needs to be making all of them. And it didn't help that in an interview before he said, I only practice 20 kicks a week. I was like, oh.
Please don't think I've got anything against Checker, by the way. I do like him as a bit, just because of who he's coaching. I can't support him.
Yeah, it's just who he's coaching.
Yeah, well, that's the same issue I've got anyway. But anyway, let's call it there. This is probably the last episode of the season for us, but we will be back with a number of specials, hopefully, and a number of international lookouts as well. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. Please remember to follow us on social media and follow us on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts from. But I've been Charles, Jess has been Jess, Simon's been Simon. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Thank you.